Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. I am Patrick Daugherty, joined Tuesday, August 27th by Mr. Denny Carter. The preseason is over. Rosters are being pruned. Week 1 is right around the corner, including in Brazil on NBC and Peacock on Friday, I believe, September 6th. Of course, it's on NBC on Thursday, September 5th, NBC Sunday, September 8th. Goodell putting a game on NBC every night of the week for the whole season. We haven't even announced that yet.
Yeah, Roger, if you're listening, thank you.
Tuesday night football coming in October with the London Fogs and the Honolulu Palms, only on NBC and Peacock.
Yeah, looking forward to that one from a DFS standpoint.
Looking forward to that one, but we're looking forward to breaking down all the latest NFL news, including Drake Maye maybe winning the Patriots quarterback job. The Broncos moving on from old veterans. They spent all summer talking about were the greatest players in the league. Samaje Perine, Tim Patrick. Dalvin Cook, speaking of old veterans, visiting the Dallas Cowboys. The young guns, Puka back at practice. Jahmyr Gibbs back at practice. Jaylen Warren expects to be ready for week 1. JuJu Smith, not a young gun, signing with the Kansas City Chiefs. Guys landing on the PUP list, including TJ Hockenson, Jonathan Brooks. If we have time, Kendrick Bourne, Keaton Mitchell. Denny and I's continued love affair with the summer Seahawks. The Chiefs, opening the offense back up this year, and then their biggest star of training camp is a fullback, Carson Steele. We're going to talk about that. Just a lot to get to today. But that begins with Denny Carter turning 39 for the third time. Denny has chosen to turn 39 for a third time. Today is his birthday. Yeah. Denny, we wish you a happy birthday. How do you feel? Is your body falling apart?
Have no choice but to turn 39 once again. Well, you know what? I was actually going to go on like a long run this morning, like really challenge myself. But then I remembered it was cut down day.
So you had work.
And I could not do that. So what I did was I stood up in my kitchen and worked on my laptop all morning. And that really worked the legs. I think it's similar to a long run, and it, pushed me physically. I still got it, is what I'm saying.
Denny, you're never going to win the battle to one of those blurbs if you're standing and not sitting. You need to be sitting. You need to hopefully have like those typing gloves on. Like you're never going to getting Tim Patrick into the Slack before me or Zach or Kyle if you're standing.
Well, I never win that race. Just to pull back the curtain a little bit for the folks. We're in a Slack and all the blurbers are communicating about which player they're blurbing, right? Well, I see a tweet go up. I'm sorry, a post on the X platform go up and I think, oh, okay. Like I see it go up immediately. It's like 6 seconds old. It actually says 6 seconds. And I'll go to the Slack and I'll be like, never mind. Somebody's got it. I don't really understand how you guys operate so quickly.
We're truly sick people. We're also under the age of 40 is one reason why.
Saying it's age.
So over the age of 40, you're pretty much done. Your typing speed begins to fall precipitously. As they say, older Americans have more trouble discerning like what is fake news or real news on social media platforms. So I think you have to go through the tweets longer. Is this a real Schefter? And like Zach's like, I got that 10 minutes ago. By the time you're done figuring out if it's a real Schefter.
I mean, actually, sometimes I will come to the Slack and be like, hey guys, I got this. I'm going to get this player. And someone will be like, we literally got that guy 18 minutes ago.
I'm like, oh yeah, no.
Okay.
Any invaluable help.
And then you tell me to go back to bed, Grandpa.
It's
rude.
It's sorry about that. Please do not speak to our higher ups about the rampant ageism in the blurbing. Denny doing an amazing job on Cut Down Morning on his birthday. Man, I worked all day on my birthday a few weeks ago. We're both August birthdays. All the best birthdays are in August, but it wasn't quite as bad as Cut Down Day. I'll say.
Right. I would guess, for our jobs, the best birthday would be like sometime in June when literally nothing's happening.
June 19th. That's when my anniversary is, June 14th. So that's why I got married then. Just looking into the future.
My anniversary is August 22nd, which was the busiest day of the year for us.
Yep. Great times in the Carter household. Great times in the Drake Maye household as he appears to have maybe won the Patriots starting job, although they can't come out and say it. They're pretending like Jacoby Brissett's shoulder injury is both concerning and not major at all, that he would have played through it. That Drake Maye has been better, but not better long enough or something, Denny Carter. What is going on with the coach speak on the Patriots quarterback job? what would the fallout be if Drake Maye, who has had juice this summer, as opposed to no juice for Jacoby Brissett?
I mean, look, Brissett is not fit for this team because the offensive line is so leaky and so bad. And by the way, they have nothing coming like in the regular season. There's like no saving this offensive line. That a literal statue like Jacoby Brissett is going to get hammered in the pocket. We've kind of joked about the fact that Brissett doesn't move at all. Okay, well, that doesn't work behind that sort of offensive line. Drake Maye's mobility makes him, I think, a much better option, to operate behind that offensive line. Jacoby Brissett is now dinged up. Drake Maye's playing better overall. Jerod Mayo, the head coach of the Patriots, came out and said, acknowledged that. He said, look, yes, Maye is playing better, but we have to consider the whole off season. I don't know why you have to do that. I don't really understand that.
It's very, very unclear. Many are saying very, very
like,
unclear.
Who cares how Drake Maye looked in June? Who cares? But it's his job. I mean, I think he has a clear...
hold on. Is it? That's not been my full takeaway from those very confusing, meandering comments.
I think it's he has a runway. Drake Maye has a runway to be a 17-game starter here, unless he completely collapses. I actually do have some numbers from the preseason for Drake Maye. They're not good, so I'll just preface it.
We love that. So yeah, he hasn't looked good the entire offseason, and also his numbers are not good.
But I mean, you have to consider the offense. 5.3 yards per attempt on 34 preseason attempts. Just to compare that to his final year in college at North Carolina, it was 8.5 yards per attempt last year. His ADOT so far this preseason has been 8, which is not great. It was almost 11 in 2023 at UNC. And as far as the rushing goes, Drake Maye has logged a rush on 7 of his 38 dropbacks in the preseason. He has scored a rushing touchdown. But I just think, I just don't think that you can put Brissett back there. And honestly, if they do put Brissett back there, he's going to get hurt. Like, that's a guarantee.
As I pointed out many times to Jacoby Brissett, he has entered the Tyrod Taylor stage of his career, any backup over the age of 31, basically stage of their career. But I'm sure Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to come in here and save this team. And then he does for 1.5 quarters, and then he sprains his wrist. And Jacoby Brissett, that was the deal with the Commanders last year. Whatever, we've had enough of Sam Howell. We'll put in Jacoby Brissett. He'll look really good for 2 quarters, which he did. Then he got hurt. Jacoby's problem, he just cannot protect himself at all.
He can't. No,
the man is like a polar bear in the pocket. It's really quite something to behold.
He's probably the least mobile quarterback in the NFL. That includes Joe Flacco. I truly believe that.
Yeah, it's bad. So, whereas there was no hope with Jacoby Brissett for any of these guys, and there's still very limited hope. Jalen Polk was the guy I was drafting all summer that I was bullish on all summer and had a pretty shaky Patriots camp. The reviews have not been uniformly terrible. They just haven't been good. It seems basically a Bill Belichick receiver draft pick. Not maybe to that level yet, but he did not blow up training camp, Jalen Polk. And still probably the only one I would actually draft. I guess, I don't know, unless you want to draft Pop Douglas and bank the couple of $10 bills from the PPR machine. But Jalen Polk was one guy. He was one of the ultimate guys this summer that I wanted to have a better training camp in preseason than they did. It wasn't calamitous, but I wanted
it wasn't good.
Much better. No,
it was. Yeah, Patriots beat writers were very in line in saying, look, Polk did not stand out, and that's the way it is. I mean, look, for better or worse, I would say for worse, KJ Osborne is the clear-cut #1 receiver for the New England Patriots. And so I think that if you're going to get weird with this offense from a fantasy standpoint, what I mean is if you're in a deep league and you're just looking to fill flex spots, if you're going for a Patriots receiver, I think it actually needs to be Osborne, because Kendrick Bourne is going to start the season on the PUP list. He's going to miss at least 4 weeks, maybe even more, because remember, he suffered his knee injury in November last year. So, I could see him sitting out for more than a month. I think Osborne could just be a kind of a volume guy for a team that is going to be passing a lot because they stink.
Yeah, KJ Osborne was also a clear cut for me in the Dynasty League that you used to be in until you quit because you were supposedly printing back fantasy leagues, but then never did such a thing.
I quit Dynasty. That's all.
I had to cut KJ Osborne because I had too many young guns. And yes, looking like the PPR machine will go burr for someone else. Danny, who's the PPR machine going to go burr for in the Broncos backfield now that Samaje Perine, I don't know if it's official yet, cut or traded, moving on from the Denver Broncos. Javonte Williams never left an opening for anyone to cut in on early downs. As we know, it's third down that is truly all important in Sean Payton offenses for fantasy, though. That was Samaje's season last year. Now, is it Javonte Williams taking more of that work? Is it Jaleel McLaughlin, who was the change of pace back, just like consolidating the third down role all to his own? Is it Audric Estime, who was apparently catching a lot of passes this summer? What is going on? And what is one of the down low, most important role player fantasy roles in fantasy?
I think everything points, to McLaughlin and Javonte Williams splitting the backfield. I think Estime, could come in sometimes if one of them needs a breather, or if Javonte needs a breather on early downs. There was a kind of a funny report last week where it was Audric Estime has been really impressing in practices. If he basically, the post read, if he completely changes his game, he could really be a factor here in the Denver backfield. And so that was funny. That's not happening. I think McLaughlin remains really interesting from a PPR standpoint. I could see them splitting up the backfield targets, which of course is not great for fantasy. No. We want those to be concentrated to one guy primarily, but there could be enough for both of these guys to sort of be interesting. I would say low ceiling, but a nice solid PPR floor for both of them.
For both being Javonte and Jaleel, or
That's right.
Jaleel and Audric, not Audric, right?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I wasn't clear. It's Javonte and Jaleel. That's to me. I mean, I haven't seen any indication that a third back is going to barge in on this party here.
No, I have not either. And boy, Javonte Williams, who I slandered most of the offseason, had one of the best training camp and preseasons, at least in terms of news, for any player in fantasy. It was struggling to crack the top 30 at running back. Now he could honestly make an outside case for the top 20. And never betting against Javonte Williams again, apparently.
Yeah, I want to apologize to listeners that my microphone wasn't on until just now, so I hope I sound a little better.
Yeah, Denny sounded like Jules Verne descending down to the depths of some bay.
And you were saying that Grandpa doesn't know how to use technology.
Yeah, I just said Mediterranean Ocean, by the way, instead of Mediterranean Sea. Speaking of Grandpa, Dalvin Cook visiting the Dallas Cowboys. And, one of my stock lines all summer has been, I just don't know if the Dallas Cowboys starting running back is on this roster, Denny. Rico Dowdle, Ezekiel Elliott, they're not going to impress anyone, including the Cowboys coaching staff. But Dalvin Cook would probably be a good outcome for them, would he not? Dalvin, the $7 million last year, just talk about $7 million lit on fire. I thought he was going to be more of a nuisance last season than he was. For a variety of reasons, he just was not. The main reason being he's just old and not effective anymore. But is there any charitable reading where he could bounce back in what is a much, much better offensive situation than he was dealing with last year? If he signs with the Cowboys, we don't even know if he's going to sign with the Cowboys. But what would this mean? What does it say that the Cowboys are indeed hosting people like Dalvin Cook? Is it a pretty bad sign that the backfield is indeed unfinished? What do you think's going on here with Dalvin Cook?
Yeah, it's not a good sign. I mean, when you're talking to the most washed running back in football and Dalvin Cook about come save us, that's not good. There's no indication.
More washed than Zeke. It's up for debate.
They're up there together, and now all my Zeke bags are on fire. I'm not in a good mood about this. By the way.
To be clear, he has not signed yet, unless he's
he's going to sign. Are you kidding me?
He's
going to sign. Yeah, I mean, I guess he would, have as good a shot as Dowdle or Elliott at taking the RB1 spot, or it could be a three-way split. I mean, really, this Dallas backfield, it looked like a big prize as of 30 days ago, and now it just looks like catastrophic for fantasy. And you should make your bets. I do still think that these guys are going so late. Yeah, I do. I do think in 12-team leagues when you can just stash a Dowdle or Zeke or even Dalvin Cook at this point if he signs, I think that's worth it, because if things break right, and one of these guys is getting a bunch of cheap targets and is running as the clear lead back, then you got that guy for nothing in fantasy. And I think that could pay off. But I don't think there's any point in like trying to decipher what's going on here, because I don't think the Cowboys know what's going on here.
No, they do not. And so you mentioned like kind of a weird committee. It's honestly shaping up like as a Ravens type situation, which is where Dalvin Cook, little remembered, finished the 2023 season, where it feels like it's like 3 or 4 backs, like none of them good. This is, of course, pre-Derrick Henry in Baltimore. We're almost just like dependent on the week who was going to get the lead, and like the least satisfying committee you've ever seen, basically.
Oh, horrible.
And the Cowboys have been a pretty satisfying committee for the past half decade. And yeah, I don't know if there's any prizes to be won here. Just going to be totally frank with you, Denny. And then it might be just totally over, quote unquote, for Rico Dowdle and Ezekiel Elliott. And
for both of them, I don't know. I mean, an injury to somebody, not obviously not wishing that, but an injury would bring some clarity to usage. We will be tracking the usage very, very carefully. And again, this is a backfield that you're concerned with if you're drafting like me, okay, and you're just trying to like gobble up some late round backfield touches. If you're set at running back, please do something else with your life rather than worry about the Cowboys backfield.
Well, Denny, let's say this. Let's say Dalvin Cook signs on Thursday. You draft on Saturday. Without getting like too into the ADP weeds, which Cowboys running back? Like if you had, for some reason, your league rules say Denny Carter has to draft a Cowboys running back. So it would be funny if we made him do this. Which Cowboys running back are you drafting on Saturday?
First of all, we would run that rule all the way up to the Supreme Court, but
6-3, easily denied, and they don't even hear the case.
I would ask for an emergency injunction.
Yes, exactly.
But then I would take Zeke.
You still take Zeke, huh? Dance with the one that got you there.
Yeah, and I'm there.
Yeah, you're there in 11th place. Not quite 12th because Gary stopped checking his team after week 5.
Come on, Gary.
But you got 11th with the Zeke. Yeah, it's just kind of, I don't know. I don't even know what I would do, man.
I just try not to get too worked up with this Cowboys backfield, because I do feel like the dead zone, the running back dead zone, is pretty rife with value right now. Maybe I'll regret saying that come October, but it just makes me not super concerned with a late round dart throw like a Dowdle or a Zeke.
I think I would bet on Dowdle. Maybe Zeke and Dalvin like split the senior vote, and Dowdle kind of takes advantage. He doesn't get a majority of the vote, but he gets a plurality. And yeah, that might be what I would bank on. It's just banking on seeing regular season games is basically what I'm banking on the Cowboys at this point. Just one of those situations where we'd be lying, especially if Dalvin signed. We'd be lying if we said we entirely knew how this was shaking. I mean, I guess Dalvin Cook would make healthy scratch week 1, probably. It's very, very close to week 1. And that Dowdle or Zeke maybe put some distance between them and their new veteran backfield mate, but it's going to be a very touch and go, very tenuous situation. Yeah. I've been off to a shaky start on the show, so I think it might be a good time to take a break. We'll be right back after this. Fantasy football season just got better this season, $1 million better. Create or join a private Yahoo Fantasy League and enter the $1 million NBC sweepstakes. Plus, earn extra entries to win when players on your fantasy roster score a touchdown during an opening weekend game on NBC or Peacock. Download the redesigned Yahoo Fantasy app or go to NBCSports.com/fantasymillion to learn more. My opening weekend game on NBC or Peacock. We, of course, mean the Chiefs and Ravens and Packers and Eagles, not the games that we're staging on Tuesday night to Wednesday night. All around the globe. We have a game in Tokyo. We have a game in Frankfurt. Have a game in Belgrade.
On the moon.
On the moon, yes. In fact, the only one they're sending to cover that one is you, by the way, Danny. Did you know that?
I did. They brought the green screen. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
No. Actually, they want you to think it's the green screen. Experimental technology is sending you to the moon. And, it's in your employment agreement that you agreed to it. And yeah, you'd have to go to arbitration if you want to dispute that. I don't think you'd win.
I'm again, for the second time in the show, I'm going to need the courts to step in.
He refuses to cover Jets, Colts on the moon. He just refuses to.
Right.
Won't put his company first. Puka Nacua is trying to put fantasy managers first. He's back at practice, shaking off the injury that had to miss over 2 weeks of practice. This wasn't a serious injury, Denny, but it's a guy with an increasingly long history of injury, going back to his days in college. One of the reasons he was available in the 4th round last year. Any concern, or is every player injury prone? And we are going to live and let live with a wideout who had one of the most impressive rookie seasons in NFL history last year.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just to kind of brief folks about his injury history here. So in December, last December, early December, he hurt his shoulder / AC joint. That, let's see, in January, concussion, of course, that, that's not quite the same. He also had an ankle sprain / pull, a hamstring injury in college, a foot fracture in college, another hamstring in college. Wow. So yeah, I mean, just to illustrate like what Pat's talking about, it's a long history. So I don't feel great about taking him in the first. It's not just the injuries. It's the idea that, a good chunk of his production last year came when Cooper Kupp was either not playing or was kind of a part-time player because he wasn't right physically. Sean McVay has said this offseason a couple times now that he said, you have no idea how hurt Cooper Kupp was last year. And
it's supposed to be good or bad.
I think that's supposed to be good because he's saying that he's all better right now.
No, I know, but just like, oh wow, so he got that hurt last year. Surely he'll just stay healthy this year.
Well,
right, many different times the past.
Yeah, and he's in his early 30s now. I mean, not exactly a spring chicken, and Puka Nacua is a spring chicken.
Then you're also in your 30s, right?
I'm 39. Yeah, So I don't know. I feel not great about taking Puka Nacua. I will say I've seen him drop into the 2nd round. I feel better about that.
I wouldn't take Puka either. Everyone going in front of him, including A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, I would take over Puka. I would say 10 times out of 10. He is in a really volatile part of the board where it's Marvin Harrison Jr. who's never played in the NFL. It's Jahmyr Gibbs, who we've debated a lot. It's another guy who's been injured a ton in Jonathan Taylor. It's Drake London, who we think is good, but we've never seen operate in a real offense. Deebo Samuel with the injuries, Nico Collins with the can he do it again? So it's a tough part of the board, but I will say people are like wanting, if they have reasons they want to tie break in favor of Puka, I don't think any of those picks are slam dunks over him. But I totally agree. I have not been able to bring myself to click draft on Puka Nacua in that part of the board.
So I do want to say about Drake London, if you think like I do that the new offensive coordinator at Atlanta, Zach Robinson, is just going to go nuts with pass rate over expected this year. Like, I think that they're going to be in like the Bengals Chiefs category, right? If you think that, then I think that you can justify taking Drake London over Puka Nacua.
I think so too. I mean, Drake London was a target commander even in those awful art days. And like the target count seriously could just go stratospheric for Drake London, where I think it was 117 and 110 the past 2 years. I don't have that memorized. I did just double check that. I mean, 150 is well within the range of outcomes. And like, honestly, like 160 to 170 is in the range of outcomes for Drake London. And I do agree. He's the upside selection. And what is that, like early 2nd round dead zone? There's nothing but dead zones in fantasy football.
Well, I am taking London over Marvin Harrison for one. Who else is going in that range? Well, I take Garrett Wilson over
Jonathan Taylor, Deebo Samuel.
I take him over
Gibbs.
Deebo.
Take him over Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, are we all out on Jahmyr Gibbs? Is there some reason we always turn into Lions truthers and haters and questioners?
I mean, I'm in on David Montgomery if the Lions fans enjoy that. No, I hope you do.
No one enjoys that.
No,
it's the worst possible way to enjoy the Lions. Oh yeah, the vulture guy, the guy who doesn't do anything. Ben Johnson just presses the touchdown button and he scores a touchdown. Or everyone else is fun. Amon-Ra's fun. Laporta's fun. Jamison Williams is fun. Even Goff's kind of fun in this offense. And you choose the one guy who's not fun. Khalif Raymond, even kind of fun. David Montgomery, not fun.
Is Amon-Ra fun?
No.
He runs 7 yards and he's hit right in the chest, and that's about it.
That's how I do it on College Football 25. And then, of course, play action, deep shots. But Denny, the aforementioned Jahmyr Gibbs, I guess we should have saved the Gibbs talk for this. He is also back at practice. There's so many concerns, Jahmyr, including Sion Vaki hype. They've got a rookie running back getting hyped. Not quite sure what to make of that. Gibbs, I just keep coming back to, what would the incentive be for the Lions to ditch their two-back approach? It essentially doesn't exist. He never got the better of David Montgomery at the goal line last year. He scored a lot of touchdowns, but it's because he ran like unsustainably hot from a conversion perspective, like the green zone and red zone opportunities he did get. He was disappointingly inefficient as a pass catcher. That's an area hopefully where he could improve immediately this year, like get his efficiency marks up, get his yards per route run up. But it's Jahmyr Gibbs is the kind of guy where like focus on the negatives at your own peril because the positives are so apparent.
They are.
The positives are on film, not just the stat sheet. Extremely explosive rookie. So I do feel like maybe kind of like an idiot for only focusing on the Jahmyr Gibbs negatives, but what are you focusing on, Jahmyr Gibbs?
Well, I think that generally David Montgomery's red zone usage and inside the 10 usage is being overstated. So Montgomery led the Lions last year with 31 rushing attempts inside the 10, which is a great number.
Put him in enormous number.
Put him in the top 5, maybe even top 4 among everybody in the league, right? So that's good. But it's not like Jahmyr Gibbs like had to go sit on the bench as soon as they crossed the 20, right? He had Jahmyr Gibbs had 21 rushes inside the 10. He also led in red zone targets over Montgomery. I if I remember correctly, for most of last season, this Lions team was rotating the backs per drive. And it really wasn't a thing where they were used in different situations.
Much more so after David Montgomery came back from injury. Kind of the first 6 or 7 games of the season, they were not rotating at the goal line. But Jahmyr Gibbs went off when David Montgomery missed a game or two, and then they were rotating much more after that. So Kyle and I have gotten this debate several times. I originally looked at it like, man, so Kyle's like, he never got ahead of D-Mont at the goal line. I was like, isn't it a bad sign for D-Mont that he ceded like any goal line work to Jahmyr Gibbs?
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah, you finish.
Yeah. I mean, and I would say that Montgomery has extreme contingency value. It is one reason that I like getting him in a redraft, because you know that if Gibbs goes down, David Montgomery, I mean, conservatively is a top 10 fantasy option, and probably depending on the week. What, you don't think so? Not top 10?
No, he's not efficient enough. He'd be right top 10 some weeks depending on the buys. I think he'd frequently be in like that RB 10 to 15 range. He's just not efficient. The guys who get in the true top 10 are usually really, really efficient.
I feel like you're forgetting how awful running back is.
I feel like you're forgetting Sion Vaki.
Right. And Sion Vaki is a converted running back who has gone ballistic this preseason. 10 rushes for 51 yards, including 2 rushes of over 10 yards. So, yeah, I guess Vaki would be somewhat interesting if both of these guys go down. But I'm just saying, I'm staying. No, this is my take. Montgomery is easily a top 10 running back if Gibbs goes down.
Yeah, that probably is right. I guess I don't know. Last year the Lions freely mixed in the Craig Reynolds of the world. Who was the other guy? There was a 4th Lions running back last year. I can't even remember. But they got touches. They didn't just when one guy went down, the other guys got touches.
I mean, Montgomery's not going to see 100% of the snaps. I'm curious. It's a good offense. He would be running like, I don't know, 60-70% of the routes. Like I just feel like it's pretty good. And I guess Gibbs has a little bit of contingency value because if Montgomery goes down, then he would cook, obviously.
Well, no, Gibbs says. So you say top 10. If David Montgomery goes down, Jahmyr Gibbs is top 3 or 4.
That's right.
Maybe top 2 or 3.
But the thing, obviously, the difference is that you have to take Gibbs 4 rounds earlier. Yes. And so that value, that contingency value is less, and Montgomery, he just has a lot of it. He has more of it than anybody going in that area of the
Are you
draft.
drafting Jahmyr Gibbs or Jonathan Taylor?
I mean, the answer is neither. I mean, if I had to choose, it would be Gibbs.
I've taken Taylor a few times because he's finally healthy for once. There's just no one behind him. No one behind him whatsoever. It could be like the Death Star rushing attack with Anthony Richardson. Even if I'm a little worried about Richardson stealing goal line touches, I kind of feel like they're going to be very cautious with Anthony Richardson at the goal line after what transpired last year. I've been taking Jonathan Taylor a lot and hating every second of it. I won't say that.
Yeah.
But I have been taking Jonathan Taylor. You talk about the ultimate post-hype sleeper. You can't really say sleeper for someone.
I'm sleeping on him. That's for sure.
No one's sleeping on Jaylen Warren in the fantasy community. He's apparently Fantasy Bros' favorite player. Did not have a good summer in training camp, though, mostly because he missed a lot of time with a hamstring injury. Wasn't getting like the plaudits thrown his way that we're used to. Not that he was getting negative reports. It was just a quiet summer for Jaylen Warren, where the main story was him missing time. He does expect to play week 1. Just where do you think we're at with the Steelers committee, where Jaylen Warren has outshined Najee Harris every opportunity he's gotten over the past 2 years? But it's the weird Arthur Smith is there. Arthur Smith loves the big backs. Jaylen Warren, it wasn't there for a lot of the install in training camp. Are we concerned? Does it matter at all? When it's like, why would they talk about ditching a 2-back approach? Why would the Steelers ditch their 2-back approach at this point? What do you think?
Well, I think that it should be, if they run the offense the way they want to run it this year, I think that both backs can be useful for fantasy. I do think that the Jaylen Warren slappies, myself included, are just primed for a rug pull in week 1. To be like, yeah, he's healthy, he's gonna go, and then we're gonna be posting during the game like, I haven't seen Jaylen Warren on the field since 3 minutes to go in the first quarter.
Jaylen Warren retired? ? Instantly 68 likes on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter.
That's right. Oh, that's so true. I can see it in my mind's eye. I think over the long run, Warren, they're not gonna have any choice but to use Warren because he's good. Like, he's really efficient as a pass catcher and a rusher. So I think that he will be involved. But yeah, I mean, I just have to come to grips with Najee Harris is gonna be a thing. He's gonna be a thing, and he's gonna score. He's gonna at least have the chance to score the short touchdowns, and that's what matters.
Let me look. I'm trying to go by ADP here. Would you rather have Denny, Najee Harris as the RB20 or Jaylen Warren as the RB25? Depends on what service you're playing.
Yeah,
things of that nature. Who would you rather have at ADP?
I think Harris at 20.
You're voting Harris?
Huh?
I said you're voting Harris. Sorry. Jaylen Warren versus Najee Harris.
Right. Right. I'm voting Harris there. Yeah.
Voting Najee. All right.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one for me, but I think the Steelers are sort of underselling this hamstring thing. I mean, first it was like super serious, and now Mike Tomlin was like, yeah, no, it's fine. I'll be out a week. I don't know if I'm buying that.
I think we just might be underselling the art factor still. And like, are we ever going to truly like expect this guy to learn? And like, he loves the big backs. That's like what he's known.
He does.
Going back to his days in Tennessee.
I mean, he's already repeating, his old shtick with Pat Freiermuth, who's being used as at best a rotational player, and Darnell Washington looks to be just as involved as Freiermuth in this offense. So Arthur Smith has not changed, folks.
Darnell Washington, one of the largest humans in the NFL. So Arthur Smith, we love him, although he didn't like Kyle Pitts. Keep asking about concern. JuJu Smith-Schuster signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, is this even worth talking about? This doesn't really say anything about our guys, does it? Maybe it's good to say Hollywood Brown won't be ready for week 1 with the shoulder injury.
I think that's it, yeah.
This doesn't say JuJu Smith-Schuster's coming in to get targets. Please,
no.
Please say yes.
No.
I don't know. He led them in targets 2 years ago, didn't he? Or was
that
3 years ago?
You sound like the guys on Twitter, on X, who are like,
curious.
Who are like, oh, JuJu is a Super Bowl champion. He's the number 1 receiver for the Super Bowl champion, and he can't get a job. I mean, come on. Let's be honest about what that was. Like, they didn't have anybody else.
They didn't. But listen, the only place I would have maybe been concerned about JuJu signing was the Chiefs, just solely No one's ever known a system better than JuJu.
No, he does know the system.
He knows the system quite instantly. And like if he had signed like the Texans, like whatever, who cares? Obviously, it doesn't mean anything. Like even the Falcons, who like need targets, or like the Giants, like doesn't matter. The Chiefs, though, he knows the system, and it might be all too convenient to plug him in for some important snaps.
Listen, there will be best ball bros who will need to be transported directly to the hospital if Smith-Schuster is seeing snaps over Xavier Worthy in week 1.
They will be airlifted straight to the fantasy.
I'm worried about some of my friends.
The fantasy mortuary. I'm trying to say it in an annoying way. But they wouldn't be dead either. I would be dead meat if he got targets. I have a lot of Xavier Worthy.
You do? Okay.
Yep. No Marquise Brown. Pretty decent amount of Rasheed Rice. So yeah, I didn't love it. But yeah, I think it's just the guy. It's probably the less dark reading of knows the system. It's we have an injury, the guy knows the system. If he has to play, he'll play. Can't really see in a universe where JuJu Smith like commands targets.
No.
I can't see a universe where we take a quick break and return right after this. The Tour Championship is here. Watch Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, and more of the top 30 golfers in the PGA Tour face off for the FedEx Cup this week. You can catch it live on NBC Golf Channel and Peacock Thursday through Sunday. Yeah, I forgot to say Schauffele.
You know how to say Shaw. Okay.
Xander Schauffele.
Okay.
I know how to say it, but on the clock, I was like, "Oh, what the hell?"
Oh, come on! What? Oh, you butchered it.
Oh yeah, it's such an easy last name. Let's look at it.
Yeah,
you tell me how to say it.
Schauffele.
Schauffele? It's not Schauffele. Schauffele.
No.
See, you choked.
No, you're incorrect.
Supposedly so easy. Producer Adam says it's Schauffele.
It's Schauffele.
Schauffele? This isn't France, man.
I mean, I'm trying to be honest with you. Look, the two best players in the world are Scheffler and Schauffele.
What is happening?
Adam, am I wrong? Producer Adam.
What is happening to the game I love? We used to have guys named Tiger, named Ernie.
And Phil.
Phil. now we got now Adam says you're right. So okay.
Of course, dude. Yeah. I mean, you gotta learn the best golfer in the world. I said it.
Stop. Stop. You talk about Scheffler like he's the friggin' Terminator. Don't even try to sneak in.
Well, he did have one bad week last week, so it's over.
No, it's never been more over for gold medalist and wins every major championship.
Yeah, right.
Scotty Scheffler. Never ever been more over. It is over for now for TJ Hockenson. Denny. He's beginning the year on the reserve pup list. Stashing guys on IR tends to not be a very profitable strategy unless they're genuine superstars. What does stashing an extraordinarily inefficient but extremely highly targeted tight end and TJ Hockenson do for you? It's still kind of a nebulous return timeline. I just feel like TJ Hockenson is not someone I really want to be investing draft capital in. Lots of people disagree. Where are you on stashing TJ Hockenson? Yeah, in an offense with so many new parts this year, including a quarterback.
This is an offense that's going to be pass first. As far as running back usage, I know. As far as running back usage goes,
Kevin O'Connell talking up the run, but yeah,
the Vikings were dead last year, and they're not, and they have two very mediocre running backs in Ty Chandler and Aaron Jones.
Well, Aaron Jones is not mediocre. He's just very old. He's in his 30s. Just
well, okay. I mean, he's mediocre because he's old, and by the way, the whole off season, the team has been like, Aaron Jones is best when he doesn't get the ball.
I know,
like like we really want this guy on the field, but we're never giving him the ball. We just want to be clear about that. So obviously, I'm telling you to draft Ty Chandler everywhere you can. But yeah, so I mean, from a volume standpoint, I think that it makes sense to get Hockenson just to get 10 targets a game when he comes back.
He's missing 33%.
I know.
Right off the bat.
Look, I do want to be clear about this Hockenson thing. I don't get it. I'm not taking him anywhere. I think there are like 15 ways you can play tight end, and none of them involve being like, I'm going to stash the guy who's going to be running 100% route rate by Thanksgiving, and I'm going to win it all.
Yeah.
I mean, even so, even if he's even if he does get fully back by November, you have used a bench spot, or I guess the IR. You can use
most leagues have IR spots, and a bench spot I really could not abide by with TJ Hockenson because the buys will start, the injuries quickly mount. It has to be an IR spot for TJ. If you're drafting him, I really, really do not think you can stash TJ Hockenson on your bench for what is a minimum of 4 games. It could be much longer.
It could be, yes, it could be longer. I wish I had something to say about the other tight ends for Minnesota, but I have no idea who's going to be the tight end 1. We have Johnny Munt, who was the tight end 1 last year when Hockenson was out, but now you have Robert Tonyan. You have Josh Oliver.
Josh Oliver, world's largest human.
Who's mostly a blocker, but I don't know. It's a mess. I will say that once we get an idea of who's running the routes among these tight ends, that guy will be interesting.
How do you say it again, by the way? Xander what?
Xander Schauffele.
Schauffele, man.
You gotta get fancy.
You watch a lot of this stuff on NBC and Peacock and golf.
Only on those. If it's on CBS, I can't.
You don't watch the CBS ones? Thank God.
Yeah.
So, Denny knows where the bread is buttered. TJ Hockenson, I think the only case for TJ Hockenson really is, as I keep talking about, I don't know if other people are talking about this, it goes 10 or 11 deep, and then 12 to 24, there's just fewer obvious upside plays than years past. So that you've missed out on all the legitimate starters. Like you're entering like the hoping and praying phase for TJ Hawkinson's knee. Like I will go put hands on TJ Hawkinson's knee. But yeah, stash TJ Hockenson, start Tyler Conklin ? Is that where we're at there?
Right. I guess okay. I'll invent a scenario where I will allow you to take Hockenson. Say you have your 12-team league, you have deep benches, right? You have like 8 spots on your bench. You could do worse than to just put Hockenson on there for a while.
No one has 8-man benches. I mean,
no one does that. No. Okay. All right. Well, my invented scenario is no good.
Yep, it's no good. By the way, you would never ever draft Hunter Henry, right, Denny?
Draft whom?
Hunter Henry. I believe I saw you draft him yesterday.
No, I did. I did draft him in our guillotine league.
Yes, you did. And Denny absolutely begging for the blade.
I was
by drafting
Hunter Henry. Down nightmarishly at tight end to the point where I saw Hunter Henry and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll take some Hunter Henry." Yeah, he's still in the league.
I did wonder if about your mental state of being when you did that. And Denny timed out. Denny maybe X logged on and made a pick for you.
No,
maybe Eleanor, maybe your wife.
Dude, I'm telling you that tight end got so barren so quickly in that league. I had no. It's a 16-team guillotine league, which is tough. It's tough action.
It's tough scenes out here. I can second that. By the way, some of us won the guillotine league last year.
Well, good luck this year, buddy.
I'm getting too conservative. The whole guillotine strategy is always bank points at September. Don't worry about upside. Don't worry about like long-term plays because you're just trying to survive the first few weeks. Then the waiver wire begins to get populated by all the eliminated teams. You start slowly harvesting elite players. But, I don't know. I'm looking at my team and hating every second of it.
I did the smart thing and I took Xavier Worthy in a guillotine league. So, hey, if he has a blowout game in week 1, I'm set for week 1 only. And then from there on, we'll see.
The bank examiner parking in your driveway for when JuJu Smith-Schuster on 62%.
I actually the more I think about it, the more it kind of makes sense.
Yep. Yep. So,
I don't like it.
He's picking out certain deck chairs. All right, like I'm gonna get rid of that one. Gonna get rid of that one. He's just drawn a giant circle around your grill and put a big red X through it.
He took my fire pit. I don't understand.
I don't think that's actually. I think you. You're allowed to like plan, so you can like draw on your deck, but you can't take stuff off of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm trying to wrap up that. I don't have any more deck jokes. Are you having a big party on the deck for the birthday, by the way?
Not a big party. Just a few people. We're gonna have some Indian food because that's my favorite.
Well, I do love Indian food as well. Burgeoning Indian population in St. Louis at the restaurants are nice. so ridiculously good. you know, is ridiculously good when he's healthy is Jonathan Brooks, but still tending to that ACL. A guy I was really bullish on before we got an injury timeline on him. It's like June, I was like, Jonathan Brooks is the key to fantasy this year. Then, like, for the very first day of training camp, he's not playing for at least a month. And I mean, like, Jonathan Brooks is one of the most wasted draft picks in fantasy.
Right.
Because he kind of is. It's a real shame. He's the first running back off the board in the draft. That might not mean anything in what was one of the weakest running back draft classes in recent memory. But so a guy who, if you're a rookie, even if you're the highest drafted running back as a rookie, you got to like earn those touches in the summer. He did not do that. When he comes back, the Panthers could already be like 0-3, 0-4, 0-5. It's not good competition in Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders unless one of them was cut on Tuesday. I have no idea what's going on right now.
I don't think either of them will be because Brooks is on the PUP list.
Okay, yeah, and so it's just like, is he an upside stash? I mean, I guess there's more upside than there is in theory with TJ Hockenson, but the downside is quite palpable with Jonathan Brooks. What are you telling people on Jonathan Brooks?
So yeah, Jonathan Brooks, just to review, he tore his ACL in November of last year. This was sort of preordained, like he was definitely not going to play week 1, but now he's not going to play until at least week 5. Could be a little longer, but you know, a running back is different than the tight end spot, you know, that, and that's why this is the Brooks situation is much different than Hockenson. Like if you can stash Brooks and have him in your IR spot while he's on PUP, right? And then he eventually, because you know, rookies tend to kind of start low and then steadily rise as the season goes on, and they gain trust and they gain playing time and all that.
Especially at running back, you've got to earn those reps at running back,
right? And you know, hopefully Jonathan Brooks never misses a single block as the protector for Bryce Young, or it's over, obviously. But so Chuba Hubbard, who is kind of a workman type back, I even think Chuba, if you're listening, come on, let's be honest, you're a workman. And so I could see him starting, you know, definitely lead back situation on this team. And, you know, I drafted him in a few redraft leagues, and I plan on using him over the season's first month. But he's going to slip while Brooks rises. I could see Brooks being like the clear RB1 come November, and then you're cooking.
But what does that even amount to in this offense? I guess it is Dave Canales, who I wonder, though. It's like Dave Canales seems like the money printer for running backs in fantasy, but I wonder if that was the circumstance and that the Bucs at any given moment had one good running back. And that's why Rachaad White continued to take every snap, every touch.
Yeah.
And that maybe that's not the true Dave Canales. It just, especially in this situation on such a bad team, like a lottery contending team, I think it's even worse that Jonathan Brooks missed time. I mean, I guess the counter to that would be like, whatever, the season's already lost, we'll throw him in there.
Yeah, they got to see what. Yeah,
it's a situation where rookies in these dumpster fire situations like don't ever get the benefit of the doubt. I don't know. I'm probably
all right. Look, I have something to confess to the folks. I watched the Panthers play the other day, and I have hope.
I knew it. I knew what you were going to say.
I have hope.
Listen,
for this offense, and I think it's good for fantasy that Deontay Johnson could survive in this. Adam Thielen could be something here. Whoever's the running back could be interesting. Bryce Young is not going to be a fantasy option outside of Superflex.
You saw Bryce Young make one good throw, by the way. Let's be clear.
It wasn't one. It was 3. It was 3.
I just don't even know if he was throwing to that guy on like the highlight.
I'm just saying.
Was he even throwing to that guy?
Of course he was.
Talking about?
I cannot believe I have been put in the position. I did this to myself where I'm now defending Bryce Young.
Yeah, it's because you're addicted to contrarian takes.
No, wait. No, this is not contrarian. Every best ball bro I know who has a net worth of like $8 million is like, no, it was Bryce Young stacks all day, baby. And I'm like, wait, and all off season I'm like, what?
No, you're not a control. By the way, you're not like you just like you take perverse pleasure in like having to have bad takes. And like you're like, Mr. You know, I told you Bryce Young was too bad. He was too small. And now you see one good throw, and you're like, well, what if he is?
It's not okay. All right, here's the thing. If anybody can get this guy right, it's Dave Canales.
That is true.
Okay, Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask last year were literal laughing stocks of the entire football world. We used to watch their training camp throws, and we would all collectively laugh. We would have a good belly laugh. These guys stink. This is the worst quarterback situation in history. And Baker Mayfield comes out and was, I believe, a Pro Bowler.
Easily beat the Eagles in the playoffs.
Canales, whatever he's doing, it works for quarterbacks. And I'm just telling you, the guy I saw operating in the pocket for the Panthers the other day was not the guy from last year who looked, first of all, scared as hell, completely discombobulated, would immediately just kind of look down at the ground and hope to not get hit. He
loved the ground. He loved looking at the ground.
He wasn't doing any of that, Pat. I'm telling you, yes, it was only 3 throws that I saw, but it was 3 throws where I was like, oh, dang, he kept his head up the whole time. That's good. That's good. Good for him.
So you mentioned Dave Canales' successful bar rescue of Baker Mayfield. Before that, there was a bar rescue of Geno Smith, who remains the quarterback for the Seahawks. All summer, we've been reading the really positive tea leaves on the Seahawks offense and their usage with Ryan Grubb at offensive coordinator. And you informed me that they have been cooking in the preseason. They now concluded preseason.
Yeah.
The drumbeat marches on. What is the latest rhythm that we're getting with the Seahawks offense out of camp?
Just a quick review of what happened in the Seahawks last preseason game. 5 dropbacks for Geno Smith, 4 completions, 62 yards, and a touchdown to DK Metcalf. All 5 snaps for Geno Smith were with 3 wideout sets. All of them were passes. So this team's going to pass a lot. They're going to use 3 receivers a lot. JSN is screaming value where he's going right now. I'm taking him as much as I can. And I just want to address the folks who say, well, wait a second. DK Metcalf caught a touchdown, but the defender slipped. I just want to be clear. I don't care. No.
Defenders slip all the time.
What do you want me to do? Be like, well, then it was a terrible play by Metcalf. Come on.
When it's easy to slip too is when you're scared of DK Metcalf running right by you.
Well, the guy actually was draped all over him and then just fell to the ground because DK Metcalf is, what as the kids say, a unit.
Yes. But JSN, Tyler Lockett is not undead zombieing the way we're used to. He's not been practicing with a leg injury. It doesn't seem to be serious. I think he will play week 1. It just seems like it might be this time accounts for Tyler Lockett finally declining, which doesn't discourage us in this offense. Because like you said, JSN has been having a light coming on off season. We'll see if it translates to real games. We know you love Noah Fant. He's your most drafted tight end. I can't believe you took Hunter Henry when Noah Fant was still there in the guillotine league, by the way.
Shut up. Are you serious?
I'm sure. Of course he was still there.
No.
ADP. Hunter Henry's ADP is way ahead of Noah Fant, I think.
I'm going to throw up. Okay, go ahead. Anyway, Seahawks.
But yeah, Seahawks. We love our Seahawks. Denny, because we love the Seahawks in part because they're going pass heavy. They're going down the field. They're using 3 and 4 wide receiver sets. We keep saying, or at least I keep saying, this is what the Chiefs are finally going to do this year. Happy learned how to putt. They got wide receivers back in defense, the Kansas City Chiefs. And like I mentioned in the lead, the most hyped Chief of the entire summer has been fullback Carson Steele, who, as you point out, seems to have the number 2 job maybe nailed down. CEH is dealing with some unfortunate health issues. Deneric Prince is just not good for the 2nd or 3rd year in a row. I'm kind of honestly losing track. Fullback Carson Steele, is this real? Are we drafting Carson Steele late? It's pretty fun to watch him run, but it's the preseason. I have no idea what to think about fullback Carson Steele.
All right. So, Deneric Prince has fallen off. They tried to make him the RB2. CEH has been out. It's very unclear about when he's going to come back. It looks for now, entering the season, that Carson Steele is going to be the RB2 behind Pacheco. Now, I don't think Steele has any standalone value. And if he does, it's going to be Pacheco drafters are going to be in a world of hurt. That's what I would say.
We will be in utter shambles.
Yeah.
But
this Carson Steele guy is not really a fullback. I know Andy Reid had mentioned fullback in a quote.
I don't know if you're Denny, tell the folks his number.
It's 40 something.
42. And yet you claim he's not a fullback.
I know. I get it. He looks like Mike Allstott. I know.
Yes.
I do understand that. But in college, he did not play fullback at all. So we have to remember that.
He did play running back.
He did, right. So in the preseason, just to give folks an idea, because I if you're not grinding preseason, let me just tell you how Carson Steele has done for the Kansas City Chiefs. 11 rushes for 79 yards and 2 touchdowns in the preseason. He was good in college, 5.2 yards per carry over his final 2 collegiate seasons. One was at Ball State. The other one was at UCLA.
Denny, I averaged 4.8 yards per carry at Ball State.
I knew you were going to. I knew you couldn't help yourself. Last year at UCLA, which I hope for Pat is a legitimate university.
A Big Ten. They weren't in the Big Ten yet. Terrible football conference.
Last year, Carson Steele was 13th in yards after contact per carry among all running backs in the country. In 2022, again, at Ball State, so take that for what it is. Ball State's a legit program. He had more than 1,700 total yards in 2022. So, this guy's used to getting the ball. This is not a guy who just came out of nowhere and was like, oh, dang, you're giving me the ball. I don't know what to do with it. He knows what to do. And so if Pacheco goes down at any point, I think that Carson Steele will be a thing. Now, he won't be involved, I don't think, as a pass catcher.
Why was he not drafted then, by the way?
I don't think that teams look at those numbers. I don't. I think
we let Mike Tomlin. We do not care.
I think right. I think they flip on the film and they watch a little film and they go, this guy's no good. We're out. Or this guy, or I love this guy. And it doesn't matter that he averaged 3.4 yards per carry.
So they would have thought he was amazing if he had worn number 42, by the way. Then everyone would have been all excited.
It's a hideous aesthetic.
No, it's either hideous or totally glorious, depending on whom you ask. I think it could be kind of glorious. We need some fullback action back in this league.
Oh man, the Zoomers have never seen a fullback.
The Zoomers have genuinely never seen a fullback, and how insane it is. Like it's always only 3 or 4 yards, but those yards are never gained without someone just getting like pancaked or like did he just put his hand through his helmet? It's
a 4-yard carry where the announcer is screaming for 45 seconds.
Yes, exactly. The Zoomer mind cannot comprehend fullbacks. No. We have time for one more topic. Do you want to talk Kamani Vidal? Yeah, we don't need to talk Josh Jacobs. Kamani Vidal, back from the dead, apparently. He's never been more back after it was so over for Kamani Vidal.
Yeah.
What is the final preseason summer word on Kamani Vidal? Denny, drafts raging right now.
We're hearing that both the Chargers and the beat writers for the Chargers are now hearing about Kamani Vidal. Yes, now that Isaiah Spiller has been released, folks. I got up on my roof and I shouted it today. I said Isaiah Spiller, he's finished. He's finished with the Chargers. It's Vidal season. It's not really, I should say. He'll be the RB3 behind some combination of J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. But it's nice to see that, maybe he'll get some action if one of those guys goes down. Dobbins, his injury history is a nightmare. So we'll see how that goes. But it appears he's going to make the team. And in his preseason action, Vidal was not bad. Unfortunately, I don't have the numbers in front of me. But it was you got to trust me. There's no way to find it. It was good.
It was very, very good. Kamani Vidal, I was so excited all offseason. And then it was like, it's never been more over. But this is I can't stop drafting J.K. Dobbins. I wish someone could stop me. I get the bank examiner. He's getting out like a tape measure. He's got out like the measuring, it's just like that white cloth, that really old thing they used to have.
He sometimes hits you with it. It's terrible.
He does, yeah. When he hears that I've been drafting J.K. Dobbins, he's like, "Oh, this would be a really good place for." Then he mentioned a fire pit. My bank examiner has found a perfect spot for a fire pit in my backyard when he repossesses my home from my beautiful family. I'm very scared, but Kamani's never been more back.
Yeah, my best ball teams from May are looking good. And now all the way. Hey, we got Vidal on the team. Okay, we collectively as a fantasy community, we willed him onto the roster. We did it.
Kamani Vidal all the way back. This show all the way over. The season begins, my goodness, in 9 days on NBC and Peacock with the Chiefs and Ravens. Absolutely cannot wait. Cannot wait to do like 4 more drafts. I think my wife maybe can wait for that. not great. Daddy missing a lot of bedtimes over the next week.
Yeah, I know.
Bedtimes.
Here's what you do. I got to work. Does it work?
I do. And this work happens. Sure, it includes going to a sports bar to draft a team.
Okay. Well, now that's. I'm sorry. I do.
Yep.
I think your wife has a point in kicking.
I'll be at the Post in Creve Coeur tomorrow night. Come say hi if you're there. Come say hi to Rotoworld.com. We have all the latest news and cut down day. We're going to be putting up articles this week, including my last minute rankings on Friday. Denny and I don't think we've heard back from the Superiors yet, but we're planning to do a Q&A on Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll be podcasting on Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So for Denny, I'm Pat. Keep it locked to Rotoworld.com. We'll be back later.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.